be calling you a radical. So if you like to watch two future NBA superstars go at it, playing the same position, you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of those great matchup, Auburn, Charles Barkley, Louisiana Tech, Karl Malone. Very similar situation, you know, and so Dillon Jones versus St. Thomas. Not to be St. Thomas, not to be confused with Great. Osabar, I got to tell you the story. So, Great was in the house. That game that Weber smoked Montana State. Yeah, he was there. He plays for Utah State. Now, I know Danny personally. I mean, it was a risk for Montana State to hire him, right? He's just an old ex-player, you know. I don't know why they didn't hire Jimmy DeGrafty here. You know, you think people were saying he has no experience. Grafty's got experience. All he has ever won is win. He was in my class at the #1 school of business in the United States. He would just get the class highs. I mean, he's all that then some. So, Great was at the game. So, after the game, I'm talking to Kev, and he's like, we do a little podcast, and I'm like, he's talking about Montana State. Well, their bigs are almost as good. I said, no, they're not. And he's like, well, besides Bolo. And I said, I can't remember the other one. And I'm like, can't remember the other one. So right after he says that, I look up right over my shoulder, and there the other one is standing. Great's standing right there. So I get up and walk over, and the other transfer, he's like, you remember him? Montana State, number 3. Oh, do I remember? He wasn't only good, he was great, I told him. He smiled, and he's that good, you know. But these two right here, you're talking 2 of the best college players in the country right now. So they're going to go at it over in Greeley. So if you get a chance, you know, this should be something. So Greeley's a 2.5-point favorite, but betting on Weber State at any point spread is beyond dangerous. But you don't know which team will show up. You know, hot shooting Weber or cold shooting, you know. I had a talk with Steven the other day, and I says, well, you know, you've always been a hot and cold shooter, streaky. Even Scotty Bamforth was here. I mean, that's the player he is. Everybody knows that. I says, you remind me of Vinnie Johnson. Who's that? Look him up. The microwave. And he's like, whoa, that's who, you know. So you don't know. You don't know, but you know that Dillon Jones is going to show up. You know that St. Thomas is going to show up because they show up every fucking game. Very Karl Malone-ish. Very John Stockton. I mean, well, they really both remind me similar of Karl Malone's work ethic. I don't think people really knows what Karl Malone had a freaked out work ethic. I mean, remember what a shitty free throw shooter Karl Malone was in the day? He'd flop on the floor and act like he was dying when he was a rookie. They fixed that. Remember, he was a horrible free throw shooter. Turned into be a premier free throw. Dillon Jones. Dillon Jones is one of the great free throw shooters in the history of this freaking building. That's saying a lot. Damian Lillard led the country. He wasn't very good free throw shooter when he was young. He had fadeaway jumper he's got down. Whoa. That's all been developed. I mean, he's the quintessential gym rat. He doesn't ever leave. I see him right here all the time. I've been friends with him since he first got here when he knocked out the referee on accident. I talked to him right after that game. In the Weber State Library of all places. I says, you know, I've been wanting to do that for years. What's that? Knock out a Big Sky referee. I'm talking figuratively, you know. He says, I didn't mean to. You can see his passion. So the old man, Mr. Freeze, told me, he says, this is late in Dillon's freshman year. You got to remember the whole COVID nightmare. There was 3 of us in the arena. I'm like, he says, I think he's better than Lillard at this point. And I said, no way. I'm like, no. Yeah, I think he's going to be an NBA player. And I'm like, maybe possible, but he got a long way to go. Lillard, we knew right off the get. You couldn't talk to Lillard. You couldn't even have a conversation with Lillard. A lot of people called it arrogant around here, but it turned out to be confidence. And look what he's done in the NBA. I think all these losses he had here created who Damian Lillard is now. It kept the fire stoked. And boy, is that fire stoked. You know, what he's turned into in the NBA is, well, it's legend. I mean, it actually blows my mind. You know, because because they didn't get to go to the tournament. By the way, Dylan Jones guaranteed me a tournament game. I told him, this is your last chance, buddy. You got to win that tournament, because I schooled these guys up one time when they were freshmen. They were all standing around. I was talking to them. I says, Lillard never played in an NCAA tournament. Well, what are you talking about? No. Randy Ray has never won an NCAA tournament game. Oh, well, we're going to get one. Well, Randy Ray's gone, but his assistants are still here, and it's the same old playbook, the overcoaching intensity, but you can't rattle Dylan Jones. I've never seen the guy ever lose his composure. Not once. That dude is so down to earth, so work ethic. I mean, he's just steady Eddie Gill, you know. He blows my mind, actually. So his numbers are mirroring Lillard's. I mean, St. Thomas and Dylan's numbers almost mirror each other. It should be a classic. It should be an epic just to watch those two. Incredible. I mean, what Dylan has, he came back last year. I really thought he would go in the draft. He would have been a late first rounder or an early second rounder, and he really had a tough time, you know, and he finally, right at the last minute, and I'm glad he come back here. I didn't think he would, but he did. And I don't think he's left the gym since. You think I'm kidding? I mean, he's got a Damian Lillard work ethic. I mean, Lillard was a freak work ethic here. He never, I mean, his trainer would walk him to class. Who was the assistant, man? He's still with him. Then he would walk him to the gym. I mean, talk about grab onto those coattails and never let go. Damian Lillard's workout is legend. I mean, it actually blows my mind. But as far as working in the gym, shooting, creating, doing, developing as a player, I told Dylan when he was a sophomore, towards the end of the sophomore year, I started to wake up a little bit on him. I says, you know, you got a ways to go, but between his sophomore and junior year, I started calling him Dylan Magic Jones, because he started being Magic-like. He started taking over the point guard and doing that coast to coast. I really think he'll play point guard in the NBA. So I says, I changed your name to Dylan Magic Jones. He says, you're making my head grow. Saying that, I says, like the rest of you, he's gotten huge. He's built like Dantley. And then I changed it. He really started developing that and one at the rim. Who's the greatest and one at the rim player in NBA history? That's easy. No one comes close. That's Adrian Dantley. All that fucking scoring machine. I mean, he would just battle at you the rim. You know, he's about Dylan's size. I mean, he reminds me of Dylan a lot. Just battle at the rim, battle at the rim, battle at the rim, battle at the rim until they fouled him, then he'd score. That one, he was the and one king. Turned himself into this great free throw shooter. Incredible player. And then that you could blame Larry Miller for that nightmare. I really believed Adrian Dantley should have been the Jazz head coach. You know, they should have never left Utah. Yeah, man, the great Ricky Green. Why do you think Stockton's so good? Well, he was taught by one of the greatest point guards you've never heard of in your life. Ricky Green, as Hot Rod Hundley used to call him, fastest of them all. Ricky Green's why Stockton was so good. Ricky, do not kid yourself, he was all that, then some. You know, my favorite Jazz player ever. Yeah, we were talking, I ran into Paul the other day, and we were talking yesterday. Kev, do you think that Dylan Jones is the best all-around player in the history of this school? Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I mean, his numbers prove it. I mean, watch his migration. St. Thomas over at Northern Colorado. Yep. Yeah, I think he's the greatest player in the history of that school. Could be. You know, that coach is an ex-assistant here, so they'll overcoach. They'll freaking bang it. But Dylan's developed that fadeaway. The book on him was he couldn't shoot. I remember talking to a scout earlier in the year. I'm like, fuck, you're nuts. The guy's got a great shot. You know, oh, he can shoot. What can't he do? But, you know, I call him Dylan Dantley, Magic Jones. And so, St. Thomas, this should be epic. Again, I have a program that I bought back years and years and years ago when I had money, that Louisiana Tech, Auburn at Louisiana Tech. And I bought it at an auction. I paid about $300 for it. This is 20 years ago. And Karl Malone and Charles Barkley signed the covers. And you think, oh, just the big sky, blah, blah. you're not paying attention. And, great, Osabar. Whoa. Well, but I give Kevin so much shit. I'm like, oh, he ain't not good. So then Kev got up and I talked to him. I'm like, look who's sitting right there. What? Be careful what you say. They might be looking over your fucking shoulder. So, should be an epic classic. I mean, I wish I was there, but they're here. I got my front row seats for one reason and one reason to watch. The only reason I got those seats, somebody bought them for me, so I could. Oh God, camera's all dirty, ain't it? That's all right. You can hear. To watch Dylan Jones play. I mean, I missed some of Lillard's because I was in the bone marrow transplant, dying of cancer. I says, I'm not missing watching this guy. Not to mention Blaze 3, We're Plankton. There's probably 7 or 8 guys. 2. How about 2? How about Dyson Kohler, the local? I mean, to watch all these guys play. Talent, oh boy. But talent doesn't guarantee you win. The overcoaching, I mean, this team needs to chill out and loosen up and let the chips fall where they may. This fucking screaming, yelling Randy Ray is fucking, we're all so sick of it around here. We've all watched the Randy Ray and his assistants fucking movie for decades. Ask Damian Lillard. So go Dylan, go St. Thomas. I'll root for them both. Should be an epic. Stand tuned.